Hey, I want to give a big shout out to members of Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, wherever you are, abroad, Canada, or here at home. Welcome to this new video series. And we may experience bumps and bruises as we go along because this is a new thing. I personally don't want to bore anybody to death. For those of you who may not know me, I am former chief here to Mississaugas of the Credit, and sitting council member Larry Sault is my name. And my responsibilities is, in my view, to protect the interests of this community first and foremost. Last month I talked about the 1969 white paper, walked us through a historical, somewhat of a historical backgrounder in terms of our rights-based agenda. And for me, I'm still a rights-based fighter. I'm still a sovereign thinker, even though I know that sovereignty has its boundaries. Every sovereign nation has boundaries. And I know that most of our membership, which I'll call lay people who have never been in elected office, would certainly know a little bit about that, but not intricately. So I'm going to try and talk specifically. I've had input from the last video, and some have said I was way over people's heads. Others have said they liked it and asked more specifics about what my role is here as an elected council member. I want to first say that in the last few years, more so leading up to today, our communities, our First Nation communities all across this nation has been in transition mode. I'm going to call it transition mode, much like I said in the 1969 white paper in the early 60s and early 70s. There was a new formation taking place, and right now we're in that same type of mode. 40 years plus later, we're in the same type of mode. And I'm calling it transformation. But paramount to anything and everything that I put my hand to, it's about protecting you, our community members. It's about protecting the future of our community members. It's about standing up for our rights and standing for what I believe in to be a protective measures, so that our future generations can enjoy exactly what we've enjoyed growing up in my younger years. So the protection of our rights, mine and yours, is paramount in my mind. The First Nations are in a transformation mode right now. And with change, one thing that's constant in our lives, whether you're just a member, whether you're working every day, whatever job you find yourself in, whatever age you are, change is a constant. In our political world, in the world we live in right now, in our issues with federal and provincial governments internationally, we are in change mode. That is constant. And I call that transformation. And transformation is not what we know. Transformation, in my view and my experience over the last 30 plus years, is what I believe and what I practice. What I believe and what I put into motion, put into practice in my life. And so I know we're in transformation mode politically. I know we're in transformation mode with Canada, with Ontario, the changing faces of Ontario governments, outside governments. But our fight has been constant, and that fight is a rights-based agenda. So my pillar during the 2015-2017 term of Chief and Council, which I was not part of, the Chief and Council put in a strategic plan, put in place a strategic plan that each council member has pillars under those plans. And so when I came was elected into office in 2017, my pillar became pillar number one, which was inclusive prosperity, economic growth, and job creation. And honestly, some of the challenges we have at the community level has always been lateral violence. People suggesting certain things, people suggesting this and suggesting that, and everybody has an opinion. I am following the pillar lead that I'm responsible for to the T as best as I know how. And that opinion is inclusive prosperity. That means job creation, it means building business, it means long-term sustainability within our communities, our programs and services. The goal, according to the strategic plan that I inherited, was to improve Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation financial independence, from traditional government sources and help fund higher quality programs and services for membership both on and off reserve. So if you live in BC, I'm talking to you. If you live right here at the local community, I'm talking to you. Both my responsibility for inclusive prosperity is both on and off reserve. So I want to back up and give you a little bit of history again with respect to income that we have coming into this community. And one of the things going back to the 20 years ago is we settled a 200-acre land claim. We've settled 3 land claims right now. The first one was in late 80s. It was called the railroad claim. And that was not a whole lot of money. It was total of it was dispersed to membership. So that was the railroad claim. In my time as chief in the mid-1990s, 96, 97, we settled what we called the 200-acre land claim. And right now, today in 2019, I believe it's upward over $20 million plus in that community trust. There's a community trust, and then there's a corporate trust, which is called the Toronto Purchase. So in the 90s, we settled a 200-acre land claim. Those monies have been generating revenues since 1996, 97. Within that framework of the trust, monies are distributed to different departments through donation policy that they have within the donation policy and within the trust itself. Departments can access funding through that trust. And so we've put out a bunch of monies across the board in terms of monies available through that trust. And Chief and Council has no access to that trust, just so you understand. That is a community trust made up of a board of community members and a manager that manages the day-to-day operations. So that's still generating wealth. And we also have the Toronto Purchase Trust, which many of you know was dispersed $20,000 to each member 18 years of age. And that's been in place since 2010. We are garnering revenues through that trust right now, and inclusively we continue to maintain investments off of that through stocks, bonds, and what we call alternative investments. Some of you know that the alternative investments, we invested in medical marijuana, a company called WeedMD, which we've done very, very well on that. WeedMD we've got all of our investments back out of there, and we still have upward to 4 million shares within that company as we speak today. We also invested in a reloadable pay card called Zoom Pass. That's not doing as well as WeedMD. And we also invested, called alternative investments, in online gaming. We do quarterly reports from Peace Hills Trust. We do those to the community on a quarterly basis, updating the community where everything is up that. So that's long-term wealth. That's creating wealth. We started back in the 90s. We started a housing payback loan system, which is operating. We've obviously went through hiccups as we've developed, as we went along. Like anything else, we've had to work through the hiccups of our housing loan. That is generating revenue, and the monies that we retain from the payback loan system creates wealth for other members to be able to build houses and put their name forward for renovations and things like that, and other programs and services. We have the water and sewer program. All of these are generating wealth. These are long-term sustainability. And I'm proud to say that as a former chief of this community, these are things that happened under my watch and my colleagues at the council table at the time, and they are still generating wealth today, still turning revenues today. The water and sewer, and obviously water and sewer goes back into infrastructure and operation and maintenance issues. We have property rentals. We built in 1990s, we built the commercial plaza that's located on First Line and number 6 Highway. We bought, in the 80s, we bought 60 acres there and deemed that reserve status, and we've been generating revenue through lease operations through the plaza. We have community gas station and convenience store there as well. And all of those are generating revenue. All of those were positioned to be able to sustain us long term. So again, my responsibility is inclusive prosperity, economic growth, and job creation. According to the strategic plan that I mentioned, that was implemented in 2015-2017 term, there were some other issues that needed to be dealt with. By the way, we have 3, maybe 4 pots of money right now that we have access to funds for programs and services above and beyond government transfer dollars. What we call 10, 2, and 2, that's a pot of money. That's 10 million, 2 million, and 2 million. 10, it started out to be 10, it's probably maybe 6 now, 6 million for economic development and long-term wealth creation, 2 million for education, and 2 million for land acquisition. We still have those pots of monies in a larger trust moving forward and generating revenue. Gaming fund, every month we get gaming monies. We will continue to get gaming monies from Casino-Rama. Every First Nation, 133 First Nations in the province of Ontario, access gaming revenue funds from the former Casino-Rama, and those monies will continue to come in, I believe, up until 2030 or 2031. We'll still have access to those gaming. All of these go into different funds within our financial administration body. And we have what we call the enterprise fund. That is all the cash revenues that come from our convenience store, gas sales, tobacco sales, chocolate bars, pop, etc., that kind of stuff. That goes into what we call the enterprise fund. So there's one more fund, and I'm not sure what we call it, but it's with the Department of Consultation and Accommodation. We've also generated wealth through that body, and those funds are accessible to Chief and Council for top-up programs and services within the administration itself. Those are what we call own source revenues, and what the government has deemed own source revenues a few years ago. According to the strategic plan that I inherited, that I came into, and part of my responsibility of inclusive prosperity, one of the sectors within inclusive prosperity was Transcontinental energy grid. And again, I'm just following my responsibilities according to the strategic plan. So this year, somebody asked me, what have you done so far? Well, I think I've done quite a bit personally. In my early term of 2017, January of 2017, I was responsible to meet with the Ministry of Environment. And out of that one meeting in January of 2017 evolved a partnership, a 20-year partnership with what we call Nanticoke Solar. The partners within Nanticoke Solar is Mississaugas of the Credit, 6 Nations, and the Ontario Power Generation. And basically I was responsible to carry that file. We got that file up and running. We put that in place under the Transcontinental energy grid of our strategic plan. And they flipped the switch. We visited the site completed in March of this year. The switch was flipped, and we are now, in the next 20 years, are going to garner dividends every year from that particular operation. We have 839Co, a company called 839Co, a numbered company that actually Councillor Irma LaForme and myself, Irma Farrell, and myself put this company together. We're the lead on putting this company together, 839Co. That is a rooftop solar company, a feed and tear, a FIT they call it, the government calls it, a FIT program partnership with about 10 companies with 60 projects, rooftop solar projects. We put that in place in 2013, 2015 term. I'm happy to say that company is alive and well. We are just, as we speak, about to transfer $100,000 of dividends. That company is now making money. We have upward to $800,000 in that fund. and every year it's just sitting there generating revenue. Again, that's one of my roles and one of my responsibilities. Under the same Transcontinental Energy Grid, Councillor Irma Farrell and Councillor Evan Sault, prior to me coming to council in this term, was responsible for the Niagara reinforcement line. And if you've been watching the media in any way, shape, or form, you'll see the frenzy that's going on. The partners in that was and is Six Nations, Mississaugas of the Credit, and Hydro One. And we've experienced some setbacks on that particular Niagara reinforcement line, which is yet to be determined on flipping the switch on that, because after all the chaos, there's lots of things to still complete to have that thing up and running with the Niagara reinforcement line. The other one is, again, I'm probably going to have to break this down into the next month and the next month after, because I've been quite busy in terms of my role and responsibility. But we've been negotiating for the last probably 6 years on what's called the Lake Erie Connector with a company called ITC. And the Lake Erie Connector is an energy cable going under Lake Erie, and the reason that I'm there is because my role, together with Councillor Kathy Jameson, is lands and water negotiations and lands and water protection, environmental protection, and claims process. So our role there is to ensure that we have some sort of a partnership if that project is to go forward. That's an energy cable going under Lake Erie from Nanticoke to somewhere in Pennsylvania, and that will be like a major highway transferring energy back and forth between the United States and Canada, and it's a supply and demand process. We have not yet inked any deals on that, but we've been off and on the table on that particular project. As well, we've had discussions on other major projects, energy transmission, hydro transmission within the Golden Horseshoe and the GTA. Lastly, I guess I'll wrap it up here. There's so much else that I can say, but I'll wrap it up here in terms of this year as well. I have been specifically responsible for working with legal counsel to put together the Mississaugas of the Credit Business Development Corporation. We started that 4 years ago, and as I said in an earlier video, I believe we started about 25 years ago on that. But actually, now in the last 4 years, and I'm happy to say that I've been responsible to help bring that to fruition. It is now up and functioning, Mississaugas of the Credit Business Development Corporation, which we view as a major piece in long-term sustainability, economics, and job creation within our traditional treaty lands of Toronto. Lots of things happening there. That is legal. I will touch a little bit on the cannabis. That's a big, big issue. We are destined to be involved in the cannabis industry. Many of our community members, I'll talk about that in my next report to council on cannabis specifically, and how broad we need to go, and what I've been involved in specifically in the cannabis field, putting in place legal obligations for the safety, security of our community members is foremost in the cannabis industry, and we know that. So I guess I will pick up there. I don't want to bore anybody to death, but until next time, see you again.